The next awardee is Assembly Member Warren Furutani. The Assembly member have supported so many issues in the State Assembly. The Assembly Bill, the Assembly Joint Resolution 25 regarding Filipino World War II Veterans Reunification. I've known Warren for so many years, being a community organizer to the school board, to the Senate. But the most important thing is Warren has a big heart for the Filipino Americans, and he always wants to do something for us. Before I present the award, I would like, by the way, Warren Furutani is the chair of the Asian Caucus in the State Assembly. Before I present the award, I would like to invite Orson Aguilar to co-present the award with me. Orson is the Executive Director of the Green Lining Institute. The Green Lining Institute was last year's awardee as well of the California Journal, and he's a rising star in the United States, helping a lot of minority community. He's known to be paving the way for a lot of us, and I also want to thank you, Orson, for doing that. I would like to invite you to come up the stage to co-present the award with me.
Mabuhay. Okay, I'm not Filipino. I'm not a good singer. But I do love the Philippines. I have been there. As we know, today, as somebody mentioned, is the anniversary of the famous speech that Dr. King gave. And for me, it's really an honor to be around people that are truly living the vision that Dr. King envisioned. And clearly one of those people is Mr. Furutani, Assembly Member Furutani. And clearly Joey Quinto is also one of them. And as somebody said, one day there will be a Filipino president of the United States, and it'll be because of the individuals in this room who paved the path for that person to be where they're at. My points are, we need more Assembly Member Furutanis, and let me give you 3 reasons why we need more. If we had more, we would have a budget by now. If we had more Warren Furutanis, we would be investing in education, not cutting in education today. And the third, if we had more Assembly Member Furutanis, we would have more companies like AT&T that do more than 20% of their contracts with minority businesses. But the most important thing to me when I see Assembly Member Furutani is that he's a statesman. You know, regardless of where he's at, we read his bio, he proudly says he's an activist, he's a community organizer, and he's always been true to that. And if you see him working, you don't see a legislator, you see a leader, and you see a leader for all Americans, for the diversity that Mona talked about. So for that, Warren, thank you for being a role model to me. Thank you for making the work at the Green Lining Institute a little easier. And come on up and get your award. Thank you.
The California Journal for Filipino Americans present the Community Leadership Award to California Assembly Member Warren Furutani in recognition and appreciation for outstanding commitment and dedication to the Filipino Americans. Congratulations, Assembly Member.
We have here a certificate of recognition and appreciation of your continued dedication to Filipino American community through your service as a California State Assembly member. And this is from one of my heroes, Ted Lieu. Thank you, Ted.
Take them all together. Okay. All these separate shots.
And we also have one here on behalf of on behalf of Carol Liu, who's not with us today, so we can. And we also have one on behalf of Jenny Oropesa. Thank God there's a budget crisis, otherwise they'd have to walk away with a lot of framed certificates. Huh?
Thank you very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real honor to be able to receive this award from the California Journal for the Filipino American community. As we all know, the ethnic press plays such a critical role in the Asian Pacific Islander community. I mean, we have our big newspapers and we have our regional newspapers, but when you really want to get the information about the community, you go to your ethnic press. And I know all of our ethnic newspapers are having a difficult time, just like everybody else is in journalism. But let me tell you, without them, our community would have such difficult time just trying to communicate about real important things, community affairs, special people doing special things. So it's a pleasure to be honored on the 16th anniversary of the California Journal. Also, to follow along with an earlier theme, I want to introduce somebody. It just turned out that when my son asked me where I was going this evening, I said, I'm going to this dinner with the California Journal, and he said, oh, geez, I'm going to the dinner too. So he's not here staffing me. He's here because he works for a public relations firm that's very close to several of the awardees in the corporate part. But let me introduce my youngest son, Joey Furutani. I do that to show you, just as Joey Quinto did, that thank goodness the next generation is more beautiful and more handsome and also skinnier. But also I think it speaks to what Mona said so eloquently about the next generation. And that we in all of our communities, but in the Asian Pacific Islander community, I don't know if some of you have noticed, but there's some Asian Pacific Islander legislative staff here. I know Judy's staff's here. I don't know if Ted's, I know John's is here. We have in the Capitol, both in Washington, D.C. and Sacramento, and locally in your local elected offices, these young people that are extraordinarily talented, have this fantastic work ethic, are eloquent, articulate, write well educated, and really represent the future. And let me tell all of you, we're in a great situation relative to our emerging communities. I would also like to take a moment to say something, and I have really appreciated the eloquence of the speeches this evening from Joey's excellent opening remarks, Joey. They were absolutely excellent. And then with Mona and everybody in between, I think you can see that the leadership we have in the political arena and also in the corporate arena is really something to behold. Although introduced as a champion for working people and the residents and citizens of the state of California, I want to add to his resume and mark my words. In 8 years, we're going to have a candidate for the governorship of the state of California in John Chang. And I don't know if you got the significance when Board of Equalization member Jerome Horton was here, but he is a part of a constitutional office in the state of California and the only African American, and I believe the third African American in the history of the state of California to hold such a constitutional office. And I know you heard this about the great Judy Chu, who we all love and respect because of not only her work as an assembly person and now as a congressperson, but before that, as a Board of Education member, a local city council member, a professor in the community colleges. This lady has been doing it for years and years and years. I know she doesn't look like it, but she has been doing it for a long time. And I would add one small thing, and he's going to be angry with me if he finds out, so please don't tell him. But she happens to be married to this really crazy guy that is a fantastic assemblyman in the state of California, and that's Ted Luz and my colleague, Mike Ing. So that is a dynamic duo, believe me. And we should, and I hope you do, acknowledge, and there'll be the right opportunities to come up in the future. But because of term limits, and term limits giveth, that's why we have 11 members in the API caucus, the highest number, as Ted said, but term limits also taketh away. And we're losing Ted because he's being termed out. But let me just assure all of you, it's a brief hiatus, believe me. He will be back in some other office, and if President Obama has anything to say with it, he's either going to go to Washington, D.C. to work for the president, and if we get Jerry Brown elected, he's going to be in the state administration with the governor, because you can't let this kind of talent go out to pasture. You got to make sure you use it and capitalize on it, and he'll be back in elected office, and I guarantee that. And let me say this, as we talk about the first Chinese American woman to be elected to the United States Congress, as we talk about a young woman being the acting lieutenant governor of the state of California, and I know that's what the signs show and the headlines show, but what you didn't know is that the Democratic Party, all of the activists, all of the elected officials demanded that Mona not leave that position. She needed to get her life started. She needed to get going on what she was going to do next. But she committed months of her life to a critical role to offset what we were concerned about relative to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she was the counterbalance. And had she not been willing to give up of her personal time to put her career advancement on hold, we would have been in a much worse position. So we are indebted to Mona Pasquil for the great work she did as Lieutenant Governor for the state of California. And the Filipino-American community needs to know that with the appointment of the Chief Justice, and I don't know if any of you had a chance to see the hearings on television when she was being conferred by the Senate, this is not an appointment that's really got anything to do with ethnicity or gender. I mean, she happens to be a woman. She happens to be a Filipino-American woman married to a Japanese-American man. I mean, I had to say that. I'm sorry. But she was appointed because of her skills and her abilities, and I don't know if you noticed the kind of support she had from Chief Justice Ron George. She is a consensus appointment that's going to have no trouble relative to becoming the Chief Justice. Hear me, this is not just a justice, this is a judge. The Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court. Now that's worth a lot of applause. And let me end with this. I know Joey talked about the first this and first that from the Filipino-American community. I'm here to tell you and to guarantee something again. It's just a very short matter of time. Chris Cabaldan, the mayor of West Sacramento, ran for the assembly twice, almost got there twice, including the last election cycle. Arlie Ricasa in the San Diego Chula Vista area ran for the assembly twice, almost got there the last time, stands on the threshold of being elected. There are other Filipino-American elected officials in local office that are being poised to be the first one elected to the state legislature. It's just a matter of a couple of years and one other thing. That one other thing is the need for the Filipino-American community to come together, no matter what region, what geographic area you might live in, to support the Filipino-American candidates that's going to be running for the state assembly in the immediate future. I'm talking about people like Harley coming back, Chris may run again, Mark Polito, who's in the Cerritos area, and others, excuse me, I'm drying off right here, that are poised to be elected as the first Filipino-American to the state legislature. It's a matter of very little time, but it's a matter of a lot of energy on all of our collective